When I first met John Speraw, the biggest topic that was going on in his life, besides him coaching UC Irvine to another national championship, was, wait, first, would he take the UCLA job? If he took the UCLA job, could he then coach the national team and the Olympic team? Was it possible? So he took the UCLA job. Was it still possible? We go to John Speraw at his UCLA office in Los Angeles, and I would say, John, I think last week you proved that it's very possible.
Well, yeah, I think we proved it's possible. I think I felt really good about the process for quite some time. I always wondered if it could happen, and when the international calendar changed at the beginning of this quad, when they moved the major tournaments, the World Champs, the World Cup, into the summer block, it really became possible for a collegiate coach to do both. So I talked to Doug Beal and got it all worked out, and certainly hired an incredible staff and have incredible staff here at UCLA too, and the support structure here at UCLA makes it possible as well. So it's worked out well. It's funny you mentioned all those questions I used to get about whether or not I'd take the UCLA job. I don't have to answer that question anymore. So that I haven't heard that in quite some time. But boy, you and I used to talk about that, as did everybody, for a long time. So it's good to be back here at UCLA. I'm really thankful for their support, because certainly coaching the national team was something that I always wanted to do. And it looked for a while there like it was going to have to be one or the other. And the fact that I can do both, I'm very grateful.
Well, anybody watching this, of course, is a volleyball site and a volleyball chat with John, who not only is the head men's coach at UCLA, but also our men's Olympic coach. His office looks like a guy who just showed back up to his UCLA office after a really long road trip. The United States men's volleyball team not only won the FIVB World Cup in Japan last week, but also qualified for Rio 2016 in the process. And John, it was so exciting to watch from afar. And the greatest tweet of all was yours the last day, when you were kissing the trophy, holding it up and saying, "Good night, America. I hope your day was as good as mine." And frankly, no one could have had a day as good as yours.
Yeah, it was a very special experience. I've never been through anything as stressful in volleyball as the World Cup. Mostly because I think you can go through any tournament and have a loss, or maybe not play well in a particular set, and you know that you can come back and win and do well. And here you just can't. Every point matters. You always talk as a coach about how every point matters, but in that particular tournament it does. And it doesn't matter if you're playing maybe one of the weaker teams in the tournament or one of the best teams in the tournament. Each point matters, because you knew it was going to come down to tie breaks. And then obviously the opportunity to do something that hasn't been done in a really long time. And we talked about that in the beginning of the summer. We really wanted to set the bar high. We wanted to win the World Cup. It hadn't been done in 30 years. We were in a position where I thought we were playing pretty well and that we were getting better. And we went out and did it. And to set that high goal, to achieve it, to do something that somebody hasn't done in a really long time, and to be part of a group that I think has some really great camaraderie, some real love, and to win and do something special, I think it was just an incredible experience for all of us.
Well, I'm looking at the schedule here. Was it 11 matches in roughly 15 days in over 3 cities on the side of the world? But other than that,
yeah, it's as grueling physically and mentally as anything that's in our sport. It was 16 days, 11 matches in 16 days. They gave us an extra day off compared to previous World Cups. So yeah, we played, started off with 3 matches. We were in Hiroshima, and then took a day off, and then played Italy and Egypt, and then had 2 days off, played another 3 matches, had 2 days off, and then finished with the hardest part of our tournament. So not only is it long and grueling, but you had to play some of the best teams in the tournament at the very end. And they had to play all the best teams too. It was a round robin format. The draw was a little different for each team, but Poland, Russia, Italy, us, Argentina, and Japan all had to play one another in the last 3 matches, and everything turned out to come down to the very last day and the last match. So for us, it was great. It felt like a gold medal match moment, even though it was a round robin tournament. We based on what had occurred earlier in the day between Poland and Italy, we knew that we were either going to win the World Cup, or lose and place 3rd, which in a normal tournament, being on the medal stand is something to be proud of. But in this tournament, they only took the top 2 to the Olympic Games. And so being 3rd in this tournament was especially painful. So we knew we were all in when we stepped on the court versus Argentina. We were either going to win it or we were going to go home. And
yeah,
we were
it's so
fortunate enough to win it.
What's so interesting about your team, and it had to take a lot of courage for you and the staff, is that you have so many young guys. I mean, you've got seasoned veterans, and then you're not afraid to have put on that roster really, really young players. And that's so cool, and not only makes the present great, but makes us think the future is even better.
Yeah, I took this job knowing that was a likely scenario. Maybe I didn't recognize how young we'd go, but I think what I'm most proud of is that this was considered to be quite a high-risk quad, meaning that you could kind of look down the road a little bit and see that we were probably going to retire some really key members of what had been a core group of players since maybe 2004. 2004, 2008, 2012. There's a lot of carryover in terms of the players that were on those rosters. And now that group was going to eventually need to move on. And certainly that has occurred in some cases, not intentionally. Obviously, Reed Pretty and Clay Stanley have both been injured. But for the most part, we have an entirely new group. And for us to go into this quad knowing that was going to occur, that we were going to have a youth movement, but then being able to sustain our level of success and in some ways exceed it. I think this is probably one of the most successful quads we've had in quite some time. Maybe, I mean, with the exception of the medals, that the Olympic experience, Olympic opportunity. Obviously in 2008, we won a gold medal, but now we're going into a quad where we've won a World Cup and won 2 World League medals. And so I'm real proud of what we've been able to achieve with such a new group. And obviously, like you mentioned, we're very optimistic about what this group could do. I think we're getting better. We got better this summer, and I think we'll send some guys overseas. I mean, the most incredible part is we were able to do this, and we have a few guys on this team that haven't played a single point of professional volleyball. I think that's really remarkable, really, really remarkable. And so for them to go overseas, get that experience, I think we could be pretty good in Rio. I'm excited about what we could learn from this, grow over the next year, and go for it in Rio.
I think everybody watching this who's American and a volleyball fan is excited. I'll get you out of here on this. So, these guys do disperse now, right? Your pros go. Some of you got to keep a handle on all of them. You have to get back and do more than all that stuff I see that's not ready in your office. Get ready for your UCLA men's season. So just give me a brief overview of what happens between now and maybe January when you kick into full gear with your men's team, but how you still manage the national team.
Yeah, all the guys go overseas, so they all disperse. There's still a couple guys that are waiting to get contracts, so there's a few guys that are still around. Some guys are still rehabilitating injuries from the summer, so there's still a few guys that are in Anaheim. But the majority of them go overseas to their respective pro leagues. We do a pretty good job of staying in touch with them, making sure that they're working on some of the technical things that they need to work on. Certainly, as we watch this tournament, you can see a lot of things that we need to work on. And in that tournament, you don't have time to work on it. It's just everything goes too fast. So now we're going to be able to put together a list for each individual guy of some things that he needs to work on when he's gone, and we'll get on Skype and chat with them, and probably send the staff overseas to meet with a bunch of guys individually, and maybe even our strength conditioning coach, and just make sure that we're continuing to develop physically and technically as we go through the year. And then we'll all get together again in May. And then it'll be a relatively quick summer because we'll have World League and then the Olympics, and it'll be over in the end of August. So it'll go fast. So we'll spend the off season preparing. I've got a great staff at USA Volleyball, so all the video will be ready, all the game plans will be ready, the guys will be ready, and then we'll wrap up the collegiate season, and I won't have a day off. Just as soon as that last ball drops, I'll hit the 405 and head south to Orange County and get after it for the summer.
Good deal. Well, you know how fond I am of you and how happy I am for your success. The next time we catch up, of course, we'll do it talking only about UCLA men's volleyball, but get some rest, will you?
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it, and appreciate what you're doing. This is great, and look forward to seeing you.